Mimbrëma të nderuar teleshikues. Sot në studio unë kam të ftuar një barister dhe një legal consultant që do të flasim për çështjet e emigrimit ligjor në Britani. Intervista do të bëhet në anglisht dhe ju lutem ndiqni sepse ka informacione shumë të rëndësishme se si mund të merrni një vizë dhe të vini në Britani. Tonight we'll have on the studio Mr. Paul Turner. Paul, welcome. And Adela Bushi.
Thank you.
Welcome. Paul is a barrister, immigration barrister for years. He's very experienced. And Adela Bushi is a legal consultant
At Imperium Chambers.
at Imperium Chambers.
Yeah.
Paul, I'll start with Paul. Paul, can you tell us?
Well, thank you, Irvin, for inviting us on. A little bit about myself. I've been doing immigration work now for about 25 years. So I've seen pretty much all the changes from sort of 98 through to 2023 we are now. And have dealt with all types of immigration matters from asylum to licensing to tier 1 migrants. And I've appeared directly before the Home Office. I've appeared in every tribunal from the first tier tribunal through to the Supreme Court. We specialise at Imperium Chambers in dealing with people on a what's called a public access, direct access basis. So people can come to us without the need to go through a solicitor. So what we offer, and hopefully be able to answer some questions, is a one-on-one experience with the client. So they don't have an intermediary. We do all the work, whether that be filling in the form, hopefully just filling in the form, or whether it be going to court.
Okay. And Adela?
So, as you mentioned, a legal consultant at Imperium Chambers. I've been working directly with Paul since 2019 when I was a first-year law student. And from there, we started our work together. We have a very good, dedicated team who speak Albanian for Albanians in the office, and our client base is actually grown a lot in the last, let's say, 2-3 years, especially in the last 3 years, I would say. So yeah, that's what we do at the moment at Imperium Chambers.
Immigration is a very hot topic right now in the United Kingdom. The government is trying to change and introducing legislation daily, weekly. So we all know how an asylum system broken. So the government has admitted defeat on that. What can you tell us about how Home Office now is going to deal with the Albanian and the Albanians, migrants coming over?
I think they're going to struggle, to be honest, in dealing with the number of Albanians. Touching upon the Albanians that are coming, I think, over illegally, or the ones that have come and claimed asylum. There's, at the moment, individuals that arrive in the United Kingdom, however they get here, are entitled to claim asylum. The Home Office have been routinely detaining Albanians that arrive illegally, but then the courts have been granting them bail. Now, what the government are trying to do is they're trying to make it so that if you arrive illegally, your asylum claim will not be processed in the United Kingdom. Now, that raises a couple of questions, which is, firstly, the government wants to detain the migrants. It's expected there'll be about 80,000 people arriving by small boat this year, and I don't envy them the dangerous crossings, obviously people drown. Where are they going to put the 80,000 people? There isn't the capacity to do so, and there isn't the money to do so. That's the first thing. Second thing will be, where are they going to remove people to? I think in the last year before COVID, the Home Office removed about 8,000 people from the United Kingdom. So if you have an asylum backlog of 166,000 and 80,000 arriving by boat, it's going to take many, many years before you ever remove anyone, if you can.
We all know that. It's a case that a lot of the Albanians have spent about 7 to 8 years until a decision was made.
And maybe just to add to that, there is an issue at the moment. There is no legal aid. Legal aid is not accepting Albanians anymore because they see them as a lost case. So a lot of people are actually struggling to find lawyers. And that is a topic that it's not really spoken about, apart from charities and places like Citizens Advice, where Albanians are actually going to complain, because apart from people who can afford the legal advice, there are vulnerable people who actually can't.
True. I'll carry on with the different categories of migrants, so we can clear some of the issues they've got. I'll start with the migrants that came over here and they got married with European Union members or other, when it comes to the marriage and spouse visas. Some of them, they got granted the marriage to get married in the United Kingdom, but however, due to the various reasons, they did not get married on time before the 31st of
December 2020.
December
Yes.
2021. So now they are facing challenges of getting a visa to. So what is the easiest route to achieve the visa?
I mean, that's a really. There are two ways of answering that. There's the purely professional way of answering that, which is that if an individual. The problems have all been caused by a case called Çelik, which is under appeal in the Court of Appeal. Prior to the decision in the upper tribunal in Çelik, if you couldn't get married because the government had shut all the registry offices before the 31st of December 2020, and you got married in February 2021, the court would allow your appeal on the basis you'd done everything reasonable, and it would be disproportionate to make you go and leave the country. However, the upper tribunal then said, no, it may be very unfortunate, but law is the law, and therefore you cannot succeed. This case, as I say, is under challenge. So therefore the question is, what do people do? Some people are in the system, they have an ongoing appeal. For them it might be better to either await the outcome of the appeal. But turning to the point which is the purely legal one, the purely legal answer is, if, for example, I had married somebody in March 2021 and then I was refused because I'd married after the relevant date, the simplest thing to do would be to return to Albania and make an application from Albania. Now, I know that this fills people full of fear.
Yes.
Because if you turn on the television, you'll see everybody in the government talking about migration. They've demonised Albanians, in my view, without any good reason, so that people have a huge amount of fear. But the law is the law, and in the same way it cuts against people, if you meet the criteria, such as you're married to the EU national and the EU national is in the United Kingdom exercising treaty rights, you can go back to Tirana, for example, it's the main airport, go to Tirana, you can prepare the application before you leave the United Kingdom if you use a reputable lawyer, you can apply for a priority service, and as long as your documentation is in order, you'll be back in the country within a month or 2 months. That's the legal point, but I understand the human point, which is separation, fear.
In this case, I think we've got to analyze and broadcast a bit more on the examples that have been successful. So then we can show to our community that, look, the examples are there, they've been successful, people are going, getting the visa and coming back here legally. So that's another thing. Now, the most interesting that the Albanians are looking for is how to get a visa to United Kingdom. Myself, last year, looked at the embassy website for information. It's very poor on how to apply or to get a visa or what visa you're looking for. I don't know, because I haven't been there to the reception and asked for further information. But it seems that the information is not very accurate. Also, in the UK Gov website, is I've been described briefly, not like detailed of, and also it makes the sentences there are quite very strong worded, so it just puts you a bit of fear as well. So how can you explain to us the tier or the visa system?
Well, just touching upon what you've said, which is making an application yourself. Now, unless one is well versed in immigration law or law generally, my advice would be, and this is not by any means an advert for myself, it would be any reputable lawyer, is to is to use a lawyer to make any immigration application. And this is generally find anybody that you're comfortable with to make an application. The reason for that, as you've touched upon, is that if you look at the UK Gov website, initially it starts off very simplistically. You need to meet 1, 2, 3, 4. And you think, well, that seems easy enough. But then you click on the link and there's 100 pages of guidance open up. They're difficult for lawyers. In fact, one of the Court of Appeal judges, or Justice McComb, said that they should tear up the immigration rules and start again. Instead, they just keep adding to them. So the first thing I would say is that also you touched upon speaking to the Home Office. If you speak to the Home Office and ask them for advice, then you're really courting disaster, because the person on the other end of the phone is probably not qualified to give you legal advice, probably doesn't want to give you legal advice, and probably couldn't give you legal advice anyway. So it really, you have to be responsible for yourself in that regard if someone wants to come here. So the first thing is to identify someone that they're happy with. Now, turning to the different tiers that people could come to the United Kingdom, really, I think the one that's going to be of most interest to people, there is the Tier 4 student visa. If people want to come here and study then at a university, then they'll be given limited rights to work. It will need to be a reputable university, and they'll need to show not a lot of maintenance, and they'll be given limited rights to work. And if they pass a degree, then they'll be given a 2-year work visa, permission to work, it's the graduate route visa. So if they came to study, they could study and work for 3 to 5 years depending on the degree, and then they would get a 2-year period to work without a sponsor doing any job that they wish to in the United Kingdom. And from that visa they could switch into any other type of visa category that they could. That's probably not the most attractive category because the UK universities charge an awful lot of money for international students. It's extortionate. So I think it's 3 times what UK nationals pay.
So yeah, some universities pay about 27,000 pounds.
Exactly. So you would be paying £54,000 for your degree. You'd only be allowed to work 20 hours a week. At the end of it, you would end up with a 2-year working visa. If you're industrious then and make the right contacts and have the right degree, then I'm sure that you would find it wouldn't be too difficult to find employment and transfer into what we're going to come to next, the Tier 2 skilled migrant visa. Which is going to be most attractive to people. Now, Brexit has been a disaster for the United Kingdom, in my view, and according to the Office of Budget Responsibility, but it is a fantastic opportunity for people from Albania. It is, I cannot stress how much of an opportunity, if done correctly, to shift the dynamic from illegal migration to legal migration. Simple fact is that prior to Brexit, people from Spain, Italy, France, especially some of the southern European countries where the standard of living was poor, they could get on the plane, £50 flight, come to the UK, they could start work without any restrictions. Now, the entire European Union are treated as if they're from a third world country, so they have to find a Tier 2 sponsor. So this is the great opportunity for Albanians because, and there are 2 ways, I'll come to the sponsor license in a second, but the Tier 2 list of occupations is quite wide, and in particular, due to, as I say, Brexit and other factors, they've now included construction workers and healthcare assistants onto the Tier 2 visa. It's always been open for doctors and for people that are graduates to find employment, but opening it up to construction is a massive opportunity.
But the construction scheme, for example, so let's say plenty of Albanians in Albania, builders, very skillful in construction, how can get the visa? Because they don't know. They can't, do they have to contact here a sponsor? Do they have to apply for a job at the company here and go to the embassy and tell the embassy, I've got a job there, can you give me the visa? Because it's a very confusing. A lot of people ask me like, oh, we hear there is plenty of jobs in United Kingdom. 1.5 million jobs to fill up. But in the meantime, we go to the embassy and says like, oh, you need someone to
be the sponsor.
So it's the route through the sponsor. So
Well, this is in some ways where what you're saying is 100% right, which is that if you're a highly skilled builder and you want to come to the United Kingdom, where do you start? And unless you are conversant to a fairly good degree in English, or you have connections in the United Kingdom, it can appear an impenetrable wall. But where it also offers the opportunities the truth of the matter is that the vast majority of Albanians live legally, lawfully, work very hard in the United Kingdom. Lots of them are very industrious and have their own businesses. So those people that have their own businesses and are looking for staff are in an ideal opportunity to apply for a Tier 2 sponsor licence. So in some ways it's a win-win situation. If I was an Albanian and I'm running a business, say a construction business, and I can't find staff, if I obtain a Tier 2 licence, which can be done fairly easily, and maintain the licence, then I'm able to look for people, and if I can't find them in the UK, then I can find them in Albania, and then I can issue what's called a certificate of sponsorship, which is really just a long number with a few letters in it, and then the person can come over and work. And applying for a Tier 2 licence, sponsor licence, is really quite straightforward. It's far easier than getting on board a boat and paying an agent a lot of money. Applying for the licence is fairly easy. Maintaining the licence is important because the Home Office will often hand out licence. People will think, I can do this. They'll navigate their way through the Home Office website, get the licence, issue the visas to their brother and sister, and then 2 months later the Home Office will raid them and they'll lose everything. But done properly, it opens the door to pretty much an unlimited number of people.
It is very important that while we go through the legal process, we have to adhere to the law and respect the law, especially like when it comes to the license and that, so we don't have to abuse whoever is going to get it. Another thing that you're going to do now in May, you're going to Albania.
That's right.
Kosovo. So could you just tell us about what you're going to do there? Are you having a conference?
Yes, we've got a couple of conferences in Tirana, and then we're going to Pristina. I mean, this came out of being involved with some Albanian charities. And talking it through with Adela, I felt that there was an obligation to give something back. I've been working in immigration, and one of the difficulties is that, as you've mentioned, a lot of people are in Albania or they're in Kosovo, and they have a lot of questions, and it's not easy to get answers. So it seemed to me that to give back to the community, it's one thing to see people in the United Kingdom, but it would be better to actually go to Albania and Kosovo and actually answer the questions in respect of sponsorship. How does one acquire a sponsor license? How does one apply for a job? What are the relevant English language requirements? And to answer specific questions. So really, it's taking, as it were, ourselves in this studio and taking it physically into Albania and Kosovo, so that people can have access directly to both me and with Adela through in that regard, so that we can actually help on the ground. I mean, yeah. I think
since actually we posted that we were going, it has been a huge interest, and I'm so glad that it's actually professionals that are getting in touch. It's people who want to come legally that are getting in touch, and they answer very simple questions which sometimes could even be answered maybe online, but as you said earlier, it's not that sort of culture to maybe just go and look online, and the information is not as detailed as it should be. So we've had like professions such as doctors, psychologists, construction workers, asking a lot of questions regarding
I was going to ask, the next question I was going to ask, the professions that are easy to get the visa, and some of the profession which is really hard, but also they can be successful. Is there a category of how you...
If you're looking at it at a rainbow or a spectrum, it's easiest to get it if you are a highly skilled professional such as a doctor. or a psychologist, because there is a chronic shortage in the NHS. So at the top end, it is quite easy. At the more vocational end, such as a construction worker, it has also become a lot easier. It's the people in the middle managers. They're the ones that will find it a little bit more difficult, because if you're a leading psychologist or you've been teaching in psychology, you have that level of qualification, expertise and connections, then you will be a more attractive magnet. You will fit the rules easier. There are more jobs available. On the other hand, if you're a construction worker, anybody that lives in this country knows it's almost impossible to find a builder, and the prices have gone through the roof. So for them, it will be a lot easier. But the people in the middle, the office workers, the middle managers that have that do a fantastic job, they're the people I think that will find it more difficult. Not impossible, but they'll find it more difficult. They'll need to get to a lower management level before they're going to get a realistic chance of getting into the United Kingdom. It's unfortunate, but it rewards, as it were, it rewards the most skilled at building the house, and it rewards those most skilled in the medical professions. It's the people in the middle that will need to be considered on a case-by-case basis. Again, the shortage occupation list, or the occupation list, does cover pretty much everybody if you get to a certain level. So if you're running an IT company or a business and you need an accounts manager or someone in a managerial position, then they will qualify. If you can find a tier 2 sponsor, you will be able to bring somebody over. I mean, we've done sponsorship license applications for IT managers and for quite middle-ranking jobs, not CEOs of Apple or that type of thing.
Adila can tell us a bit more the conference, the dates,
Yeah.
the places, just for the interest of the public.
Yeah, also on the 1st of May at 2 o'clock, 2 p.m., we'll be at Tirana International Hotel in one of the conference rooms. And on the 3rd of May, we will be in Pristina at Hotel Sirius at 4:30 p.m. So we hope to see you all there. There will be a benefit for all of you who will attend. I have created a giveaway, and that's live on the Instagram page as well, which means that one of you, whoever is going to be the lucky person, we will choose someone online live to win a visit visa for free, which we will do it step by step together with Paul as well. And that person, we will try and also make the process very broadcast the process, how we do it from the beginning until getting the visa. So everyone can see what process is to follow, how we follow the processes. So we'll let you in a little bit more in the future of that visa as well. So this is something that we're willing to do for one of the people who will attend.
Oh, that's brilliant.
We thought we'd offer something back, and again, this is another type of visa that is overlooked, because people have an idealised version of what life is like in the UK. Now, for some people they do very well, but we touched upon it earlier where people come here and they really struggle. And we will be going through the visit visa route. Now, contrary to what a lot of people think, a properly prepared visit visa application can succeed and should succeed if it meets the requirements of the rules. So what I would probably suggest to anyone who's thinking that the UK, that the streets are paved with gold, as we all know of, and it's not.
No, it's not.
Then it might be worth coming. I know the wages are much lower in Albania, but if you book the flights in advance and you prepare the visit visa application, if you have family, great. If you just want to come and have a look, then it's worth probably coming to the United Kingdom to see whether you actually like the country. Yeah. It's cheap, it's inexpensive. It will give you the opportunity of thinking, is this somewhere where I really want to move my life to, or am I happy where I am?
Exactly, and this is our aim, to show people that you can actually come and visit legally and see whether it fits your lifestyle, it fits your profession, and also to see how to come in a legal way rather than using the illegal routes, which are not safe either.
So please, for all of you, when the conference happens on the 1st of May in Tirana International Hotel, It's right in the middle of the city. Attend the conference, ask questions, make applications if you can, if there is time there, enough time for the help of.
We'll have a dedicated team
the
to
team
get your
there.
contacts. We will stay even around, other than 2 hours. We're booked for the whole late afternoon and evening, so we will stay. We'll be there for a long time for whoever is interested.
Having made the time and effort, and Adele has done an awful lot of planning for this, as long as we're there, then we'll be there to answer questions. We're not going to be watching the clock. The whole purpose is to give something back and to be informative.
It's time for Albanians to move on from traveling illegally or making their way to the United Kingdom in a legal way, but then start again now to seek legal advice, travel illegally, come to the country, have a better life than being illegal. I've followed the interview of the British ambassador, Alistair King-Smith, in Albania 2 weeks ago, I think, in one of the televised broadcasts. And he mentioned that 90% of the, out of 100% of the applications has been successful in the last year. But I think that the reason they've kind of made now a bit more successful the visas is the issue they are facing crossing the channel. Because prior to that, it was only 38% of the visas.
Yes,
granted.
This is one of the big myths, which is everybody sees the rubber boats, the gommoni, as they come over, and everybody thinks, Nigel Farage and the right-wing extremists, such as form part of most of the government, say that the people are all economic migrants and they're not entitled to be here. But the vast majority of people are granted some form of protection status. So I would never advocate that someone make a dangerous and illegal journey. But the people that do or are forced to do so, the overwhelming majority are granted status under international law. So the problem is the government won't create safe routes for people to come to the United Kingdom. And if they talk about it, but it's limited to about 20,000 people from, I think it's either Syria, Libya or Afghan. And I think, I remember there was less than 150 or 160 people they'd relocated from Afghanistan, which is a betrayal of the Afghan people. It's a betrayal of all the people that sought to, of the UK nationals that died in trying to keep the state. It's a betrayal of them. And there is no safe route. So yes, okay, have a go at illegal migration and criminal gangs. It's not good. The criminal gangs exploit people and very often cause a huge amount of misery. But if you're going to do that, you need to have at least outline what the safe route is going to be, so that people will know that there is one. Because if it was me, would I trust this government to implement safe legal routes? No, I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them, or as far as I could throw their bank balances. Really, so it is difficult. And in particular in respect of Albanians, despite the massive demonisation and generalisation that every Albanian is an economic migrant, the majority of people that arrive from Albania on a small boat were granted status from Albania, which means that what the government is essentially lying, but it's a lie that a lot of the British public want to swallow.
We all know how the immigration system is here in the United Kingdom. We all know how broken it is and then how chaotic it is, but hopefully the government will do some work and try to sort it out. The other things that I've touched with the ambassador is that there are countries such as, let's take Colombia for example, as an example, that has an agreement with Britain traveling visa-free. So the Colombians can come here without applying for a visa, just get on a flight to the United Kingdom for 6 months, I think, or
6 months.
Do you think that Albania will get through that?
Not at the moment. I would hope that they would. The world's divided up in immigration law into what are called visa nationals and non-visa nationals. And before, most people were non-visa nationals, such as the US and Colombia. I mean, Colombia, there used to be an awful lot of asylum seekers, but since the peace accord, they've now made it a visa. There's no need to get a visa. You just get on the aeroplane. And this is a common myth, because if you apply for a visa in entry clearance or a visa in Albania and you get the stamp in your passport, when you arrive at the airport, the immigration officer will still ask you questions. The stamp is it's called entry clearance. It's a pre-entry, and so there's an assumption that people coming from Colombia or America, generally countries where it's white Anglo-Saxons, Colombia obviously is an exception, where they're coming from America, there's a presumption that they are going to go home. But if you turned up and you were from America and you said to the immigration officer, how long do you intend to stay for? And you said, well, I intend to stay forever and I intend to look for a wife. Even though you got on the plane, you would be refused leave to enter. But I would hope that if more people take advantage of what Brexit offers, if more people apply for sponsor licences, and if the situation simmers down, then I would hope that within, say, 5 years or maybe 10, that Albania would fall into you don't need to apply for a visa before you come here. I think part of it will be the standard of living needs to go up in Albania as well. Otherwise, there's just going to be an economic draw. I mean, I remember it wasn't that long, it was a fair amount of time ago. Jamaica was a visa, there was no requirement to get a visa, but there were an awful lot of people were found to be carrying drugs, so they made them a visa country. And in return, Jamaica did the same thing to us. So,
but that's the question is that as Brits, I mean, I'm Albanian also, but as a British citizen, I can go to Albania without a visa, and then some of my other cousins, which are not, they can't come over here. But that's how the rules are.
I mean, I hope it changes.
That's how the rules are made. I don't know. So, can you just explain us a bit of your chamber, and how do you help your clients and?
So I'm more on like I help them from the initial consultation over the phone. So after the phone consultation, we normally book them for a further consultation with Paul, where it lasts normally an hour, and Paul goes in every detail of their case, from when they arrived in the country, whatever they've done through the immigration history up until the point where they are at the moment, and Paul advises the clients regarding the next steps. Then he will write, the notes and the follow-up steps for each client. Then together with Paul and the Albanian team in the office and the rest of the team, we follow step by step the processes for each client. The cases we take.
What case you cover? Like, what is the list
we cover everything. We cover everything from, let's say, visit visas, which that's probably the first visas that we would say the easiest ones, up until the upper tier tribunals, up until the Court of Appeal, Paul, right? Paul's gone to the Court of Appeal as well. So we're fully trained in the office, Paul, with Paul as a main head of chambers, to go and follow all kind of visa processes, anything that's immigration related. So tourist visas, sponsor licenses that Paul mentioned earlier. And as I mentioned in this, I would like to encourage all Albanian, UK-based Albanian businesses that want to get people from Albania to apply for the license and be able to get staff from Albania. And if you choose us, we will make sure and we'll look after their license, and will help the clients, will help with the application for to process their application from Albania. So we also we had a period, the EUSS that you mentioned earlier. It was a huge thing that happened. So we've had a lot of EUSS clients. We do asylum cases. We go to tribunals, different cases at tribunals. Paul has done some very important cases with TOEIC, which is not really Albanian related, but I mentioned it as they are quite high profile as well. So yeah, we can help with any kind of immigration matter, from advice to any tier, upper tier tribunal.
So when it comes to this license of the businesses, what type of business can apply for it? How big the business must be, or is there any requirement? Is there any?
I don't think there's a particular size for the business. If you've got the limited company and the structure, and if you're thinking of applying, if you're, say, a sole trader and you have 3 or 4 people working for you, and you would say, I would like to apply for a sponsor license, then we can advise you on every step from setting up a limited company, putting the framework in place, so essentially putting so that you can apply for the license, because as a sole trader you might employ 3 or 4 people and you're never going to get the sponsor license. But if you incorporate, and we can assist with that, it's a very simple process, incorporate a limited company, create the limited company, have the accountant, have the proof that the business has taken place, that it is a genuine business, show that you employ people and you need to employ more people, then one can apply for the license. So it's really step by step. We can take people, as I say, not only do we see people in the office, but often we'll deal with people that are in Tehran or Pristina. They're abroad, and we deal with them by Zoom. So they'll get in touch, they'll see a video, or they'll hear of us, and they'll get in touch with us, and we can. Often the first time we actually meet them is when they get the visa and come into the office.
True.
So it's really what we offer, I suppose, is fairly unique, which is a one-stop shop. So there isn't a solicitor. Solicitors have a very valuable role to play in certain cases involving, say, children or people that have significant problems. But often the solicitor, we can do what the solicitor does, and then the benefit that there is that the client will see Adela or then see me, and then they will see us throughout their entire process, whether that's, I'm thinking of getting a sponsor license, what do I need to do, to sponsoring somebody to come in to the United Kingdom. So there's a continuity, which is important, because without the continuity, one of the problems that people complain about is, and they turn up at the office and they have a long immigration history, and I say, where are your papers? And they go, I don't know, my lawyer didn't give them to me. We believe that one of the key things to success is communicating with the client, making sure the client knows as much about what's going on as we do, because often the client can give us more information that will assist than we will know. So it's a two-way street, and it's one that we pride ourselves really on working closely with people from the beginning to the end. I think, and as I say, Adela's touched upon it, it can be everything from writing or applying for a license to appearing in the Court of Appeal and arguing a case there. But obviously, something's gone wrong if we're in the Court of Appeal, and we'd hopefully sort things out before then.
Good. So for all your businesses out there, if you want to help on the matter, not letting the Albanians to travel anymore illegally, you can just apply for the license, and then can bring workers here to work and fill up the jobs that actually there's much needed to fill.
I mean, I really would just reinforce that point, which is there may be somebody that has a construction company that is Albanian, that is employing people that have arrived illegally. There is no need to run the risk of being fined.
Correct.
By doing that. There is no need for the people that you've employed to have had to put their money into the hands of people smugglers. If it's done legally, they can have a license, they'll be lawful, they can employ people, the people will arrive, it will be cheaper, and they won't be living in this grey world.
Correct, and they also will work legally, and they will
Everybody
see the benefits
benefits
of working
And then, of course,
legally.
if the person's here working legally, and then they have relatives such as their mother, father, sister, then they can apply for a visit visa. But if someone's working here illegally, they might be earning good money, but there's no way that their wife, their children or their parents can come and visit them, because on the application form it will say, do you have any family in the United Kingdom? And if you put, yes, my son who's here illegally working, then it's going to be refused. But if you say my son's on a Tier 2 visa and he earns this amount of money and he works for this company, then the visa application is almost certainly going to be successful.
Yeah, and maybe to highlight it, if someone comes here to work, they can also bring their child and their spouse, and the spouse is allowed to work just like the person who has been sponsored, and there is no restrictions on the spouse, which is amazing. It's like a really golden opportunity to come even as a family, and both parents will be able to work, children will be able to go to school. It's the best alternative for families as well.
Good. Also, you are going to Kosovo as well, because mainly the Albanians had come here illegally. There is now, could be numbers of Kosovans as well. But I just want to, again, because also we have our lovely community of Kosovans here in the United Kingdom.
True.
They mean, personally, I don't know how they are situated with the visa system with Britain, but it seems they are quite advanced when it comes to get the visa. I've heard a lot that the Kosovars do get visas fairly quite easy, I guess. I don't know the whole thing. So you are going there to Kosovo, you're doing the same thing, you're trying to...
Yeah, to raise awareness, to explain how to come to the United Kingdom lawfully, whether, as I say, whether it be to visit, to study or to work. And as Adela says, if you come either as a student at the relevant level or you come to work, you are entitled to bring your dependents with you. So, and if you were to come here to work, it's usually a 5-year period you have on the tier 2. After that, you can apply for indefinite leave to remain, subject to very basic requirements. And a year later, you can apply, subject to very basic requirements, a British passport. So Brexit does offer a wonderful opportunity to hard-working Albanians.
So if someone comes here on a 2-year visa, let's say working visa, 2-year, I don't know, work would be a 5-year visa. So after 5 years, can they apply for a settlement, like let's say indefinite leave to remain?
They can apply for indefinite leave to, this is why it's such a fantastic opportunity. Well, you'll be here for 5 years working, and at the end of it, the only requirements would be that you've completed 5 years, you've passed English B1. Now, if you've been working in England, then that's not the hardest.
It's not hard to say.
And then you have to pass the Life in UK test. Now, that's more of a pub quiz or a bar quiz than an actual relevant to life in the UK. But it's not difficult, and people can download the apps online. So you have your 5 years, you pass your English language, you do your life in the UK, then you're entitled to settlement, indefinite leave to remain. And then a year later you can apply for British citizenship. And you will have had your life in the UK, you'll have your English language, so really you'll be entitled to it. So
you can choose from both countries then. Either you can go back to live in Albania, or retire in Albania, or live for the rest of your life in the United Kingdom.
That's really relevant, Irvin, because once you've got British nationality and you have the British passport, then unless you do something terribly, horrifically wrong, you will keep it. So some people get British passports and then they choose, actually, I've worked enough in this country, I don't like it anymore, the weather's awful, I'm going to go and live in another country. And then they take their nationality with them, and then if they were to have children, say back in Albania, then the first generation of those children would also be British by descent. So they would be able to pass it on one occasion. So coming here legally, working legally, has benefits for your immediate family, benefits for people that want to see you, and benefits for your descendants.
So please get in touch with the Chamber, the Barrister Paul Turner and Adela, and they will help you and get through all the issues to get a visa and to try to come to the United Kingdom legally. Thank you very much for following us, and we will see you in the next show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Evan, for inviting us on. Thank you.